Welcome to the Adventures with Sara P podcast. I am your host, Sara P, a 19-year-old girl trying to figure out this whole adulting thing through life's adventures. And as you could tell by the title of today's episode, we're going to be talking about burnout. So recently, I have just been struggling with feeling very, so drained. Mainly when it comes to like filming YouTube videos. So if you don't know, I have a YouTube channel. It's Adventures with Sara P, and I've been doing that for 5.5 years now. And so I've created a video at least every Sunday. One time I did Vlogmas. I have no idea how I did that, but I did. So I try and post a video, or I have posted a video every Sunday at noon. And I feel like my burnout is more so coming like creatively, where I just like can't come up with any like new concepts for like vlogs or like any new video ideas, or I'm just like struggling with like video concepts, like just like doing like a morning routine or like a day in the life. Like I feel like they get so repetitive and I want something different, but I'm just struggling like coming up with like new things. And I feel like it's very frustrating when you feel like you're on this cycle of just not being able to like create anything new, and it's really frustrating. And so I've also experienced burnout in other aspects in sports with like diving, just like feeling like I've done as much as I can and I'm just like tired of doing the same thing. Or when it comes to school, like just not wanting to go to school anymore, not like being interested in what I'm learning. And so they've all kind of happened at like different points in my life, but I have had to deal with burnout and it's not fun. And I know I'm not the only person that's had to do it, but it's kind of a not talked about topic. I feel like a lot of people experience it, but I don't know. I feel like either we kind of just ignore it and keep going on with our lives, or we don't recognize that it's burnout and we kind of just are like, oh, like it's a bump in the road, like keep going. And I feel like most of the time when it comes to burnout, like there's not much you can do about it, because if it's in your job, like you have to keep working. Like you can't just stop working, or like same with school, like you can't just like not go to school. And so I feel like I have had like some ideas of like ways that have helped with my burnout, but I feel like it's inevitable. Like you can't really dodge the bullet. You kind of just have to like push through, persevere. But I do have a little quote that I have for burnout, and that's: burnout is a temporary detour, not a dead end. And I think that's just super important to keep in your mindset when you're feeling like you can't do something creatively, or you're just feeling very tired or overwhelmed with whatever it might be. I feel like it's important to remember that burnout is not the end of the road. It's just a detour, and it's a detour you probably didn't see coming and you don't want to have to take. But I don't know, I just like to think of it as like you're in a car, and you're on the highway and you're in your car, and all of a sudden like there's a car accident. You didn't see the car accident coming when you got in your car and started driving on the highway, but you have to take a detour to go around it. And so it can be not fun at times, but I feel like it's important, because even if you haven't experienced any kind of burnout yet, just kind of mentally preparing for it, and whatever the case might be, if it's in your job or in school, in your sport or whatever, just like knowing that it could come. Like I've honestly felt like this with reading, and it's so sad because like reading is like my little like fun time, but I feel like I've read so many books in the past like 2 months that I just like can't read anymore. Like my brain just can't look at pages and like comprehend what I'm reading. And so I've kind of had to take a step back from that, which is like kind of sad. But like I found some like YouTubers that I enjoy watching, and I've like kind of like switched that outlet for me, because reading's like the thing I like to do before I go to bed, like kind of just like decompress, get my life together, enjoy some me time. And so that's kind of been sad, but I'm hoping to get back into it in the next week or so. I feel like that also might be because I've had to do a lot of reading with school, and it's just like article after article after article, like discussion posts, like just a lot of reading. And I feel like my brain is just like, reading is not fun right now. And so I'm trying to take a step back from that. But the first thing I have when it comes to dealing with burnout is just recognizing the signs. So kind of just noticing when you're more so tired, or for me, I get irritable so quickly. Like, and it's normally one because I haven't eaten, but I was just noticing the other day with my math class. I'm not a math girly. I will say it time and time again. I can't do it. It's like not fun for me. I don't understand it. I don't like it. But I'm taking what is it called? I forgot what the exact term is. It's like mathematic, like, oh my gosh, I'm blinking. Like values, mathematical, like terms. Like it's a lot of vocab. And so I like noticed the other day, like we have to take weekly like homework quizzes, and I was just like getting so irritated because first of all, it's graded on correctness, not like participation, which like I could argue about that because I feel like it should be the other way around, but whatever. And so I was trying to do it and I was getting really frustrated. One, because I hadn't eaten lunch yet. So like that was kind of on me. But two, just because I was getting so frustrated that like I had to be taking this math class. Like I just don't want to do it, but I have to do it for my degree and I have to do it to graduate. And so I was just like noticing that I was really tired and that I was getting like really irritated, like when there was like it should have been like an easy question, but I was just like getting so frustrated that there were so many. I think there were 10, so like really not a big deal. But I noticed like on a different day, if I had eaten lunch, I probably wouldn't have gotten as irritated as quickly. But just kind of noticing that, like I've seen that in a lot with schoolwork. It's just like noticing that I'm getting more irritated with things when I normally wouldn't be. So I feel like that's like kind of my first signal, is to noticing that I'm about to experience burnout, or I'm kind of like going through it at the moment. So I would say the first thing is try and recognize those signs when you're either just feeling really tired or you're getting really irritable with either work, school, whatever just the situation might be, is just kind of noticing that. And then taking the steps for like the next thing I have is self-care. So kind of taking the steps to take breaks and feel your body. I will say this time and time again, your body is like a little battery, and if you charge your battery by taking your self-care time, so recharging your battery, for me, like when I get in social situations, my battery drains very quickly. And a lot, like the battery drains a lot and very fast. And so after, I have to recharge my battery by spending time by myself, like in my room, reading a book or watching a show, or just sitting on TikTok and scrolling and doing absolutely nothing, kind of just recharging. And I feel like it's the same with food, is your body, like the way you feel your body is the way you're gonna feel. And so like if you're feeling it with like nutritious like things, like with nutrients and protein, your body's gonna feel good. And so kind of just like taking that time to like take time for yourself, I guess you could say, and just recharging your battery, kind of just like, for me, I like just want to, like when I have a really crazy week at school or work or whatever, just social media or practice, like when I feel very overworked and like burnt out, I just want to take like a day to like do nothing. So luckily I've had the last 3 semesters, I've had Fridays off. And so Fridays are kind of my like recharge days before the weekend and like before getting back into the week. So I will kind of take Fridays to do absolutely nothing. Sometimes when I'm feeling not so drained, I'll like run to the grocery store or something, but most of the time I'll either just sit on my room watching like a new series on Netflix or Disney, or like a movie, or reading a new book, or just like sitting on my phone and going on TikTok and kind of just like going on social media, not really filming any content, not really worried about school, not really thinking much about anything at all. And so I found that's really worked for me. So luckily I have Fridays to kind of do that. But if that's not the case, where you can't just take like a full day to do nothing, maybe just like taking an afternoon or like a night to just like do like a little self-care, whether that looks like going and getting a massage, or doing your like a facial, or watching a movie, or reading a book, or just going to bed early. Just something like that can kind of help, I feel like, with a situation of burnout. The next I have is setting boundaries. This one can be kind of tricky because I know with like school and work, you can't just like not do something. And so with this, what I kind of mean is like separating your work life or your school life from like your personal life, and kind of making that distinction of like, okay, like this is my time to work and this is my time for me time. For me, I have become an early bird, which I never on earth would ever have guessed I would say. In high school, I could not wake up early to save my life, and I stayed up like so late. And it's crazy to me how much that's changed in college. Like, I'm getting up now at like 6:37 and like on my own. Like, my body's just like, good morning, time to get up. But I'm also going to bed at like 9:30, 9:10 area. And so that's just like mind blowing to me. But anyway, kind of just like knowing where your work life starts and ends. And so like the lines don't gray or like cross. And so for me, like, I know like when I wake up in the morning, like once I start eating breakfast, like after breakfast, like during breakfast I can have like my me time, but after breakfast it's kind of like fair game for school and just like content creating and all that. So I kind of take my like breakfast time to like watch a YouTube video or like watch a show or read my book or scroll on social media. But after I'm done eating, I know it's fair game for school. So I'll either start by like doing an assignment or submitting an assignment or looking at whatever I have going on in the day. And then because I know at the end of the day, when it hits like 6:30, like I can't focus, my brain gone dead. So I will never take a night class. I can't do it. I also can't take an 8 a.m. So like no 8 a.m.s and no more classes after like 6. Because right now my math class is 5:15 to 6:15. Wait, 5 to 6:15. Yeah, from 5 to 6:15. And like once that clock hits 6, like those last 15 minutes, nothing is going in my brain. Like it is shut off, it's done. And so luckily it's just 15 minutes of class that I'm not keeping in my head. But just like knowing when the line kind of ends, I think is super important. I kind of had to figure this out. Like it took me a while to figure out. I wouldn't say it was like I took it the hard way. It just like took me a while to like know what my body needed, and like listening to my body and being like, okay, like after 6, no more school. And that's kind of hard just because like everyone's situation is different. But like I remember in high school, like I would come home from practice at 6 and then I'd eat dinner and then do homework. And so obviously my brain wasn't able to stop working at 6. And so it kind of just depends on like how your schedule is and like what works for you. But currently that is the situation. I will get up at like 6:37, and like once it kind of hits like 7:30, 8 o'clock, like I start on the schoolwork. But once it hits like 6:30 p.m., like brain is done. Like I can't focus on anything. And so I kind of know like just like going into the day, like how to like set up my time. But just kind of like avoiding crossing those lines between work and personal life. And here's another important one: avoid overcommitting yourself. I feel like that is a way to really experience burnout quickly, is just committing yourself to so many things, whether it's social events, work or school, like assignments, or like extracurriculars, or like too many sports, or like too many, whatever the case may be. Just overcommitting yourself. I've learned that I can only handle so many things at one time. So like I know if there's like a team event coming up like in the weekend, like I'm not gonna make plans with one of my other friends. Okay, so we'll just give like a little scenario. Let's say we have like a swim meet on Saturday, and then I know going into the week that I'm gonna be drained after the swim meet Saturday, like just because it's a lot of like emotions, just like cheering on the swimmers, being in like competing and like being in a competitive mode of just like wanting to do my best. And then like also like they're just long days. And so I know that I'm not going to make plans for Sunday because I'm going to be so tired and just want to stay in bed. And so kind of just like knowing that, so I won't overcommit myself like to make plans on Sunday and be like, okay, now let's hang out with every single person I know, because like my social battery just couldn't handle that. I don't think emotionally or physically I could handle that. And so kind of just like knowing that like before committing to things. Same with school. I feel like in high school especially, like just committing yourself to so many extracurricular activities, wanting to be in all those like honors clubs, just like knowing how much time you have in the day and how like you want to spend it. This kind of goes into one of the other points I have, but like making priorities and kind of like reevaluating them, just like knowing what's important and kind of putting that first when it comes to committing to anything, but like specifically like extracurricular or like social events. I feel like I struggled with that a lot, is I would just like try and commit myself to like seeing everyone or being in everything, and then I would just feel so tired and I just like couldn't take it anymore. So I feel like that's super important. Next, we have learn to say no when your plate is full. And everyone's plate is going to be full at different ratios. So I think it's important to kind of like reflect on yourself and like the situations you've been in and where you're at now, and kind of noticing like the signs of when you might be feeling extra tired, or like looking ahead in the week. I feel like this comes with like some really good time management. It's just like knowing what you have in the week and being able to say no. Like, again, we'll use the scenario of we have a swim meet on Saturday, and then like one of my friends has like a group event on Sunday. Like, I know going into it, like my plate is going to be full just because my battery is going to be so drained after Saturday that I'm not going to be able to be the best version of myself on Sunday. So if it's like a super chill thing where it's like, oh, like we can go watch a movie or something, then like totally like I'd be fine to that. Like my plate wouldn't be like as full. But having that plus like, I don't know, like a brunch or something with a ton of people, like I just know my plate would be like flooded with food and I wouldn't be able to be like present. I'd like be there physically, but like mentally I would be like so far gone, just being like, I'd probably be really negative and just be like, I want to go home, I want to sleep, I want like food, I just want to sit on my phone and do TikTok. And so like just kind of recognizing things like that I think is super important when it comes to just feeling tired, feeling burnout, just knowing when your plate is going to be extra full, and being able to say no in certain situations like that. Next, we have take time off and unplug. I just know for myself that I need a day. I wouldn't say every week, but I know I need like in certain, like this week has just been super jam-packed with assignments that are due. I've had 2 presentations, I have a quiz next week, or I've had multiple quizzes this week. I have an exam next week. I had a like case study thing due today. It's been a lot. And so I know that at the end of this week on Friday, I'm gonna want to take that Friday and just do nothing. Just sit on my phone, not go to the gym, not really leave the apartment. I'm just gonna want to sit in my room, lay in my bed, scroll on TikTok, be on my phone, and not have to really think about anything. And so again, not everyone is in the situation that they're able to do that, but kind of just taking the time to unplug. So maybe that looks like not being on your phone for an hour and just like taking that time to go outside or go on a walk or read a book or just lay in your room with the lights off and do nothing. Whatever that looks like for you, I think it's super important to kind of just unplug, because I've kind of noticed when I'm laying down to go to bed, my brain will just start running through to-do lists and things that I have going on and things that I need to get done. Like last night, I was trying to go to bed. I was laying down and I was like, I had just been on TikTok and I was like, okay, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm pretty sure like your eyes and like your brain take 30 minutes after you've been on your phone before you're like able to go to sleep. If not, then I've totally just made that up and it's like a thing that I say to myself. So I knew I had 30 minutes before I was gonna go to bed because I had just been on my phone. And I was like thinking to myself and I was like, okay, like I know I need to film a podcast episode. Like what do I want to talk about? And I had noticed like the weekend before, like I was trying to come up with like a video idea for YouTube and I just like couldn't do it to save my life. And so I was like feeling like that burnout kind of feeling. And so I was like, oh, like I was literally having an inner conversation with myself where I was like, oh, like that could be an interesting podcast topic. And then I was going on, and then I was like going into my to-do list and things I needed to get done for school. And it ended up like I spent an hour just doing that. And so for me, like unplugging is just kind of not letting my brain think. And so for me, that looks like going on my phone and kind of just being a zombie, like looking at the screen and just scrolling. But for someone else, that might be like going and reading a book or going outside or taking a drive or just putting on headphones and listening to music and like sitting on the floor in your room. So for unplugging, it's kind of different for everyone. For me, it just means my brain like doesn't have the opportunity to start a conversation with myself. But again, I think it's just super important to take time for yourself, and like in those times of like burnout, when you're feeling super overwhelmed or you're feeling super irritable or tired, just kind of listening to your body and doing what is best for that. Here we go. The next one is reevaluate your goals / priorities. And with this, obviously, you can't just stop working or doing school. You can't just be like, oh, this exam I have coming up, I'm just not going to study for it because I'm not going to take it. Like, that's just not the case. We all know that. And so for this, it's kind of just like reevaluating what's important and kind of being able to take like a step back when you can. And so for me, like for most of my classes, exams are worth like 20% of my grade, and then quizzes are worth like 5. So if I have a really busy week coming up, I know I'm going to have, let's just say like 2 exams on Wednesday and a quiz on Tuesday. Like I might take the time on Tuesday, kind of just like let myself chill, maybe not study for that quiz, but really study for those exams. And so kind of just like letting my body rest. This actually happened to me last semester. I think it was last semester or 2 semesters ago now. But there was a day where I was like, I woke up and I was like, uh-oh. It was like, I think it was a Saturday. I just woke up and was like, uh-oh, I'm about to get sick. Like I could feel it in my throat. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take Saturday to like just rest in bed, take medicine, watch a movie, just lay in my bed and try and get better. And I knew I had an exam on Monday, and I was like, I know I have this exam on Monday, but I'm going to take this time to rest, because I felt like if I rested my body, like I would be able to study better on Sunday and be like better for the exam, because I wouldn't have to worry about like a runny nose or coughing or whatever happens when you're sick and you're in a very quiet area with a bunch of people trying to take an exam, and it's just super humbling. So I took that Saturday. I actually woke up Sunday, felt perfectly fine. I studied for my exam, and I ended up getting the highest grade on that exam that I ever had in that class. And I was like, huh, what a crazy concept. And so whatever it looks like to kind of reevaluate your priorities, I think it's important when you're feeling burnout. If you're feeling it in one area, let's say school, you might be feeling it in somewhere else. So for me, like if I'm starting to feel burnout in social media, like I know I'm going to start feeling it in school soon. And so kind of just like being able to like stop it before it becomes like this whole thing. I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes I make things seem worse than they are. And so if I'm starting to feel burnout, like I'll make it this big whole like panic thing when I really don't need to. And so then I'll start feeling burnout somewhere else. And I might not even be burnt out, but I'm just like so overwhelmed in the fact that I'm feeling burnt out. How many times can I say burnout in this episode? Who knows? But kind of just like reevaluating what your priorities are, what your goals are, and kind of just making sure that your values are being heard in whatever you're doing, and making sure that the important things are coming first, which is any assignments you have coming up, your self-care, and just those being your number one priority. As I mentioned with the little exam and being sick, like prioritizing yourself if you know that you can give yourself the time. And so I honestly don't know what would have happened if I hadn't had, like if I woke up sick on Sunday. Who knows? It just happened to work out in my favor. But just remember to prioritize yourself and the important things. So the next thing I have is incorporate, I can't even read my own handwriting. Relaxation. That's what that says. Incorporate relaxation. So whether this looks like meditation or yoga, I've noticed in my life when I started adding yoga into my weekly routine, I don't know what it was about it, but I just felt a lot like more calm, more chill. Not as like, my intensity scale was not over on the high section, it was more on the low medium section. And I think it kind of just like helps me collect myself for the week and kind of just like regroups me. So I really enjoyed yoga. It might look like meditation for you, but kind of just like incorporating that, especially when you're in an area of feeling extremely tired, like feeling irritable, feeling burnt out, just kind of trying to add something like that I found has been really helpful. And I feel like with yoga too, it's kind of more of a like mentality thing. And so for me, like my mentality has become more positive, and so I kind of like look at things more like I get to do something, I don't have to do something. And so for me, like while I might feel burnout in creating social media content, it's like I get to do that, like that's my choice. And so like if I wanted to, I could just stop, but I don't want to like stop. I want to keep going. And so I don't know, there's just something about that that makes me feel a little bit better. But the next thing I have is change your environment. For me, like I feel like there's like a scale of burnout, and you can be like at the far end and you can be at like the lower end of the spectrum. Like I feel like there's a very big scale of that. And so when you're feeling those like signs of burnout, or you're feeling like the start of burnout, try like switching up your environment. Like if you're doing schoolwork or work, if you're doing it like in your room at your desk, like maybe try and go to like a library or like a coffee shop. Or if you're in the office, like try going home and like working from home if you're able to, like just trying to like change up the scenery, because I feel like that could be super helpful as well. And the last thing I have is take breaks. I feel like this is super important, and I found it super helpful when I do schoolwork. Instead of trying to like sit down and try and cram everything in 2 hours, taking the time to do one assignment, take a 5-minute break, do another assignment, take another 5-minute break, and then do another assignment, and then take a longer like 30-minute break to make food or to get up and go on a walk or just something like that. So I feel like taking breaks has been super helpful. But this also could look like taking a break from whatever you're doing. So taking a break from work, like going on a vacation, or taking a break from school, like just taking a day off and not going to class, and just like taking the day for yourself to, you know, just feel your battery up, especially if you're in a situation where like it's just go. So taking that time for yourself to kind of just like sit back and be like, okay, like this is my time, like I'm going to take a break. But then again, if you're not able to, kind of just like taking that break, whether you can take like a 5-minute break to like go to the bathroom. I'm putting my hands in air quotes, like go to the bathroom, like just go outside and get some fresh air. Something like that I think can be super helpful as well. But I just want to reiterate again that burnout is temporary, and it's like a detour, and it's not a dead end. I think that's just super important to remember if you're experiencing burnout, or just like keeping it in the back of your mind for when you might experience it. I think it can be a super good thing to just keep in the back of your mind. So as I mentioned, I have a lot going on this week, and I'm about to go give a presentation on Tylenol, so wish me luck. But I just wanted to say a few things about burnout, just because I've been struggling with it a little bit, and so I know I'm definitely not the only one to have ever dealt with burnout. And so if you're going through it right now, just know you're not alone. I too am going through it. And so just know that, one, it's temporary. If you keep pushing through, it'll get better. Just remember to kind of take a break, take a step back, kind of feel your battery, whether it's emotionally or physically. And I feel like that's all I really have to say. But I do feel a lot better having said that. It actually, like, it's like a weight got lifted off of me. I feel like I've never talked about it before, but I've dealt with it in so many different aspects of my life. And so, I don't know, I really enjoy talking about that. But I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening.